Well, another year of racing has finally come, so that means that it's time for another handful of predictions. I'm Dave the Race Fan, and here are my predictions for the 2024 NASCAR season. Let's get started. So my first prediction will be centered around the first round of Cup qualifying for the Daytona 500. In this season, I predict that for the first time in Cup Series history, a Toyota driver will win the pole for the season opener. Although we have seen a couple of front row appearances from TRD in the past, as well as a few dual wins and even a few 500 wins from Denny Hamlin, we still have never seen any drivers from this manufacturer start a single 500 on the pole for as long as Toyota has been in the sport. But I think that this year, we will finally see that. That said, I wouldn't be surprised if we still see Hendrick driver Alex Bowman still make the front row. He's essentially mastered the art of doing so at this point. Next up, we're going to be focusing on Shane Van Gisbergen, who immediately made himself known to the NASCAR community last season when he won in his official NASCAR Cup Series debut, that being the inaugural race on the Chicago Street Course. And in doing so, he became the first Cup driver to achieve this particular feat since Johnny Rutherford in 1963. And my particular prediction about SVG will be that he will once again see victory lane at the Chicago Street Course. As it currently stands, he'll be running both the Xfinity race and the Cup race there this year. So I personally believe that he will have a good opportunity to win at least one of these two races, if not both of them. Alright, prediction number 3 will be centered around the road courses we have on the schedule for all 3 series this season. I believe that we will have a first-time winner in Cup and a first-time winner in Xfinity on at least one of these tracks in 2024. I also see the Truck Series race at COTA bringing us a first-time winner as well. I know that it seems like a bit of a risk to predict this when the last 3 races at this track have been won by drivers who have won at least once before at another track, but I think it's worth a shot with how many potential candidates we'll have in the field this year. While on the subject of racetracks, let's talk about Iowa Speedway. For this season, the Xfinity Series will be returning to this track for the first time since 2019, and for the first time ever, we will also have a Cup event here too. And my prediction for the Cup race will be that the race winner will be a driver who has won at Iowa in the past in either trucks or Xfinity. With several candidates in the field such as Brad Keselowski, Eric Jones, Ryan Blaney, Ryan Preece, and Christopher Bell, I do think that the past experience will give some of these guys a good advantage. Now with that out of the way, let's shift our focus to the Cup Series playoffs. Not as much for who I have making the top 16 this year, as I do have a separate prediction for that, but more so for the idea that we could see some more drivers playing spoiler during the playoffs. So with that in mind, I predict that we will have at least 4 spoiler winners this season. With certain tracks on the schedule like Talladega and the Charlotte Roval, as well as Watkins Glen being moved into the mix from the regular season, I do think that we could have a good possibility for 2024. Another prediction that I have in mind is that we will see 30 different combined winners in Cup, Trucks, and Xfinity this season. Last year I predicted that we would have 20 different winners in the Cup Series alone, but unfortunately we did not reach that number in 2023. In fact, we saw less Cup drivers getting wins last year than we did in 2022, which was the initial inspiration for this type of prediction. But with all the candidates racing across all 3 series this year, I think that a combined 30 will be an easier goal to reach, especially with the growing amount of talent we've seen in the rookie competition as of recently. Alright, now it's time to share with you my Rookie of the Year picks for Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup this year. Starting off with Trucks, I predict that Lane Riggs, the son of Scott Riggs, will be the one to look out for this season. In the handful of starts that he has previously made for teams such as Halmar Friesen Racing, Spire Motorsports, and Tricon Garage, as well as his talents as a late model driver and his part-time Xfinity stint with Colleague Racing, I think that Lane has definitely proved that he can be a competitive driver who is capable of being consistent and maybe even being a contender to win a race or two this year as well. And now that I'll be taking over Zane Smith's old ride at Front Row Motorsports, I think that his driving style will make for a good combination with this team this season. Now for Xfinity, my personal prediction will be that SVG will be the next Rookie of the Year. As we mentioned earlier on, the fact that he has already made a name for himself in NASCAR after just a few races has been enough to convince me that he'll make the most of his new ride with Colleague this season. And considering the fact that AJ Allmendinger will be returning to his full-time gig in Xfinity for the same organization, I think that his own talents as a road racer will complement those of his rookie teammate, which will ultimately make for a lethal combination for the road and street course events. And for the Cup Series, I'm going to be going with Zane Smith as my top rookie driver for this year. An accomplished driver and past champion in the Truck Series, I think Zane will be a good performer for Spire's Cup team this year. And while I'm not expecting anything too terribly special from him like I probably would from Lane Riggs or SVG in their respective series, I do think that Smith will have a mature enough mindset to perform to the expectations that have been set for him this year. It's hard to say if he'll win a race, but, stranger things have happened, and at this point, nothing is to be ruled out as far as possibilities are concerned. Before I continue, I'm going to hand things over to my co-collaborator for this project. Once again, I've got kettlerunrailfan on board for this video. Let's see what predictions he has for us this season, and I'll jump back in with my last few in just a moment. Alright buddy, take it away.
Alright, after what seems like the longest and most chaotic silly season that I have ever been a witness to, we are finally back for year 3 of dropping some predictions down. I'm very excited for this season because we have a whole host of new drivers, new teams, and a whole lot of new storylines for all 3 series. So I'm not going to hesitate, and I'm going to jump right into my 6 predictions that I've earmarked for this season. 2 for each series. So, for prediction number 1, first of my 2 Cup Series predictions, I'm going to go with the first-time winner. And my choice for this year is going to be one of the newest members of Spire Motorsports, Zane Smith. Now, it came as a surprise to most people when it was announced that Zane would be moving up from the Truck Series at Front Row Motorsports and defecting from Ford to Chevrolet to take over the brand new number 71 car for Spire's team going into this year. Now, he's not the only one that's moving up from trucks to Cup with Spire for this year. Carson Hocevar has been tabbed to take over the 77 in place of the departing Ty Dillon. But the reason why I chose Zane over Carson is because, in my honest opinion, I do think he's a bit more prepared for Cup competition because, for starters, he made a pinch hit appearance for RFK Racing in 2022, replacing Chris Buescher at Gateway. And additionally, he's made select starts for Front Row Motorsports this past season in both the 36 and the 38. Now, I really don't expect much from both drivers this year since they're both rookies, but I decided to go with Zane for the reasons I've delineated and just the fact that he seemed to be a bit more competitive and successful in the lower series than Hocevar has. And as for my second Cup Series prediction, it concerns 2311 Racing and both of their full-time drivers, Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick. Now, 2023 was a banner year for the team as both drivers made the playoffs, with Bubba pointing his way in one of the gutsiest seasons that I have ever seen out of the man. And Reddick got 2 wins at COTA and at Kansas in the fall, and that led both of them to a top 10 points finish. Now, as for this year, I have both drivers winning races, as it should have been last year, and both of them will reach the round of 8 again. Now, as for which one of them or both of them make the championship 4, I'm just going to leave that up to fate to decide because I have a tendency of not making very good championship 4 predictions. Alright, moving on to, once again, the series that I'm most interested in for this year, the Xfinity Series. I've decided to pick a first-time winner here as well. Now, there are a lot of choices for this year, including a lot of the rookie candidates, but I've decided to go with somebody that a lot of fans have started to rally behind towards the back half of last season and going into this season, Sheldon Creed. Now, obviously, his departure from Richard Childress Racing at the end of last year was nothing short of acrimonious. Thank you, Austin Hill. But he's going for a clean slate, and he's taken over the 18 car at Joe Gibbs Racing full time, joining Chandler Smith as a fellow defectee from Chevy to Toyota. Now, I don't know where Sheldon could get his first win, but just considering where he performed well last season, I think it could come at a place like maybe either Talladega or maybe Watkins Glen, because he did finish in the top 5 in both of those races, but we'll just have to see. Staying on the track of winners, I've also decided to take an interesting route for the Xfinity Series this year, and I'm going to predict that another part-time driver is going to win a race this year. Now, I'm not sure who it'll be, but if I had to pick a few drivers, my 3 choices would be between guys like Jeffrey Earnhardt, Brad Perez, and a guy who's making a few starts this year in the Kaulig number 10, Daniel Dye. Now, I know Dye is also competing for his first win in the Truck Series this year, but considering how well he did in Alpha Prime equipment last year, driving that beautiful 44 car that you see on the screen there, I think he could do really well in Kaulig equipment and maybe steal a win at a place like Daytona or Talladega, depending on if he shows up for those races. And last but not least, we have the Truck Series. Now, obviously, the season last year didn't really end well. That race was very, very chaotic, and personally think that the champion should have been somebody else, but I don't have a problem with Ben Rhodes. But anyway, we have a lot of new faces and a couple changes for this year in the trucks, as both GMS Racing and Kyle Busch Motorsports are gone, with KBM's assets being merged into Spire Motorsports, and GMS's assets essentially being split between McAnally Hildeman Racing and CR7 Motorsports. More on them later. We've also got some new faces coming in, like Lane Riggs, taking over the 38 for Zane Smith. Now, for my first time winners prediction for this series, I'm going to go with a guy who has more than earned his opportunity where he is now, and I think he's poised for a big season this year in Bailey Curry. The 27-year-old Texan had probably the best season of his career last year, running the number 41 part-time for Nice, coming very close to winning a few times. Now, as mentioned, he is taking over that 41 truck full-time, and he's also being joined by a new teammate replacing Carson Hocevar, Matt Mills. Now, I would honestly consider Curry to be the number 1 driver this year in place of Carson, because he has been with the team longer, and I do see him getting his first win this year over Mills, because he's been in this competitive equipment for at least a year now, and this year will be Mills' first real opportunity to race some good equipment outside of the spot start that he made with KBM last year. But if I'm being 100% honest, I would not be surprised if both drivers ended up at their first win. But as with most of these predictions, we'll just have to wait and see what fate decides. And finally, for the last of my 6 predictions, it concerns the guy that I think should have won the championship last year for the Truck Series, Grant Enfinger. Now, with the closing of GMS, Grant was left without a ride, but it helps to have connections in this industry, as since then he's ended up with a team that he's had a history with in CR7 Motorsports. And in connection with that, I'm led to believe that they've gotten some equipment from the GMS sale. And with that in mind, I'm going to take a route that I did with Christian Eckes last year, and I'm going to predict that Enfinger will not only get CR7 Motorsports their first win ever, but he will also get them into the playoffs, and he might even make a run at the Championship 4 with them, although that remains to be seen. I feel like Grant has always been able to make the best of the equipment that he's in, because he had some really good runs with CR7 when he ran that part-time season for them in 2021. And considering his Championship 4 run last year, he's definitely going to win at least one, maybe a couple races this season, even though the field is very competitive. I think he's going to be able to hold his own again this year. There you have it, my 6 predictions for this year's NASCAR season. Just like last year, I am very, very excited for what this season has to offer for us, because for the Cup and Xfinity Series, we're getting a new / returning venue in Iowa Speedway. And on top of that, we have all the driver changes, debuts, and movements that I've partially outlined here. But yeah, this season is going to be very fun to watch across all 3 series, and I can't wait to see what comes to us. And on a final note, I wanted to say thank you to Dave again for inviting me back to work on the project with him. It's always a blast to work with him. I always enjoy it. And I look forward to what else lies in store for us this year. So with that in mind and everything out of the way, all that's left to do is go racing. Let's do it.
And now, I will once again be sharing with you my picks for the 2024 championship in Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup, just as I did last year. Starting off with Trucks, I'm going with my personal favorite in this series, Christian Eckes. All bias aside, there is no argument that Eckes had a very impressive breakout season in 2023 as a driver for McAnally Hilgeman Racing. His performance essentially exceeded almost everybody's expectations, including my own. With 4 wins throughout the season and a 5th place finish in the points standings, I definitely am determined to see him continue to carry that momentum in 2024 and have an even better run in the playoffs to secure himself into the Championship 4 and go for the Craftsman Truck Series Championship. Moving to the next series, I'm going to be placing my bets on junior motorsports driver Sam Mayer to win the Xfinity Series title this season. In a similar manner to Christian Eckes, Mayer showed an amazing streak of talent last year. Not only did he get his first series win at Road America during the regular season, but he followed that up with another 3 wins, including 2 during the playoffs. After appearing in the Championship 4 last season, I do think that Mayer will have what it takes this season to make that run for the championship, so I wouldn't sleep on him. And here we are with my last pick for the 2024 championship weekend in NASCAR. And the driver who I think will be more than capable of being this year's Cup champion will be William Byron. Over the last 2 seasons, Byron has definitely raised his game as a Cup driver. And with 6 wins in the Championship 4 debut in 2023, I personally think that the 2017 Xfinity champion is going to bring that same energy to the track in 2024 and will bring Hendrick Motorsports their 15th Cup Series title. And with that, those are the last of our predictions for this year's installment of this series. Once again, I would like to give a special shout out to kettlerunrailfan for assisting me with this video for the 3rd year in a row, as well as MotorsportsFan17 for his artistic talents for some of the graphics used in this project. I'll definitely try to be as active as I can with this channel in 2024, but in the meantime, I hope you all enjoyed, and I can't wait for another fun year of racing. I'm Dave the Race Fan, and I'll see you soon. Take care.